The search for Godzilla. So I did a Google, animals and atomic research, and found a document by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Now, this is a 1967 document, revised in 1969. It's part of a series, actually. Understanding the Atom Series. Nuclear energy is playing a vital role in the life of every man, woman, and child in the United States today. In the years ahead, it will affect increasingly all the peoples of the earth. It is essential that all Americans gain an understanding of this vital force if they are to discharge thoughtfully their responsibilities as citizens, and if they are to realize fully the myriad benefits that nuclear energy offers them. The United States Atomic Energy Commission provides this booklet to help you achieve this understanding, achieve such understanding. So, at Google turned up this document. There's been books written about and around this as well. But this is an appendium of research done up to 1968. I was somewhere in middle school then, right? But this is where we were, 1968. How many years ago is that? 50-something odd years ago? Animals and Atomic Research by Edward R. Recluti. Animals, Men in Science, Atomic Age Animals, Radiation and Life. Now, oddly in this, belying the possible label I put on the video, Godzilla's not in here. Sorry. Now, you might recognize these beagles and wonder where some of the presidential beagles came from. And the beagle dove and adopting beagles, 1968. Millions of animals are playing a part in the progress of nuclear science. They are to be found in almost every laboratory where nuclear research goes on. Animals also are studied in their natural habitats in rivers, the air, grasslands, and forests, from the Arctic to the tropics. Where are these animals to science? What use are these animals to science? Why are they important to the development of nuclear energy for peaceful uses? This booklet attempts to answer these questions. And it goes on. These beagles at the Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory explored their new quarters in the Health Research Laboratory building. The laboratory was awarded a citation for excellence in animal quarters and stress-free, humane handling of its animals. And somehow, I would bet they tried. More than 2,500 years ago, doctors of ancient India, 2,500 used black Bengali ants to close intestinal wounds. Harvey and the circulatory system. See, this book, this PDF is not about just nuclear. It's an introduction to where we were at the time. It's 1968, kids. It might have been a flash in your parents' eyes. A little over 2,000 years later, animal experiments led William Harvey to one of the most important biomedical discoveries of all time. Harvey, an Englishman, unraveled the true nature of the circulatory system, the twisting network of vessels and organs, 1968. Just re-speaking some of our sciences. Smallpox conquered by cowpox. 1968. Germs and Diseases. What a fascinating read. I just have to recommend it. So here we go. Germs and Diseases. Other discoveries in medicine. Now, this is a long lead-in, but they're talking about animal research. Research animal population. Atomic age animals. Granny, an old range cow. Animal studies, and Granny receives worldwide attention. How many animals? Radiation and Life, Past and Present. These are all just good brief reads. In the over 1,000 videos I've done. types of radiation, gamma rays, alpha particles, beta particles, and neutrons. 1968. This is why I speak specifically to tools that measure those specific energies specifically oversaid. These forms of radiation possess enough energy to disrupt the delicate electrical balance of atoms and molecules. Now notice their descriptions. Alpha particles are heavy particles with a positive electrical charge. They penetrate matter only slightly. Now they don't mention the nucleus is the equivalent of a helium nucleus, right? Or is it a hydrogen nucleus? Beta particles, fast-moving, negatively charged. They're speaking of these in charges. But a beta particle is just electrons, more penetrating than alpha particles, but they're just electrons, or they're negative electrons. Big stories in here. Heavy particles, neutrons are heavy particles. Neutron bombardment is not generally good. Vital molecules. Unfortunately, the molecules and atoms most vulnerable to ionizing radiation are those involved in the function of living cells. These are large, complicated, and loosely held together. They therefore make good targets for radiation. Side effects. Symphony of delicate biological processes. What a well-written paper. Selective effects. Experiments with animals have shown. Early studies. Interesting. Affecting radiation and aging. I did breeze through this earlier. At about triple this speed. Radiation in mice. Body repair. Experiments with guinea pigs demonstrated that the body can repair itself even after receiving a sizable dose of radiation. Studies of the one-celled amoeba, one of the simplest animals. Somatic and genetic effects. Part of our world. Tracking radioisotopes. Now this is what caught me, is this isotopes. The periodic table is damn good, but it is not the elements nature has to work with. And man added to the elements that nature has to work with now. It increased ratios of these isotopes into the environment. For many years, scientists have been tracing the paths in which strontium-90 and other radioisotopes, radioactive forms of atoms, travel from the environment into the bodies of animals. Studies of grazing animals, thyroid, iodine, radioiodine collection in the thyroid. Not long after the scheduled nuclear march in 1960, scientists measured radioiodine in thyroids of California. We know about iodine. We have known for a long time. We know how it works. Radioactive waste. Wild animals may come into contact. A sturgeon removed from the Columbia River for examination determined how much. It's not a question of if, it's a question of how much. Waterfowl. This is atomic age notes from the past. Strangely, however, a close relative of the yellow-legged mud daubers. What we learned at Hanford Reservation, what we've learned from nuclear research. Circle in the Sage, radiation safety. 20-acre area in Nevada, effects of radiation. Whole body irradiation. I'm going to go back to this one. The notes are gone. They're very hard to find. We had whole nuclear gardens where vegetables were planted in these patterns near a nuclear source. It looks like a bullseye. What nears it dies, what's outside of it is struggling to live, and beyond that is mostly healthy plants, and in those healthy plants a mutation might survive. Whole body irradiation. So these are notes from 1968. Skin exposure. Inhalation. There's a big one for you. Internal emitters. Once a radioisotope enters the body with air, in food, or through a cut, it may irradiate the body from within, such as internal emitter. Gives off radiation and continues to irradiate nearby tissues until its radioactivity decays or it is eliminated by the body. That body elimination is called a biological half-life, how long materials can stay in your body. We've studied this for isotopes, for elements, for compounds even, because that's what we do. 1960s. Insoluble plutonium-239, radiation in the... You have questions? Here are some answers. Could radiation, by producing changes in offspring, head a species towards extinction? Probably not. That's the same answer as today. Beneficial applications, probing pesticides. Oh, find this. Pick a topic. Let's go there. So, I hope that worked. Should do better. This is a total avoidance of wanting to pay monthly fees for services and computer software. So we play. But it sure would be nice to present this better. 1960s. Where did it go? What happened to learning about this stuff in our education system anyway? He said, dangling his phone around. Hey, peace is out. Thanks for listening.